Hey, I'm AJ. I'm a local car enthusiast here in Scottsdale, Arizona. My mission is to meet people in the local car community and show off their toys. That's why I've created Local Speed Drivers, to introduce and interview local gearheads like myself to the world using this channel. Welcome to LSD. What if I was to tell you to wake up in 1988? No, not that 1988, but this 1988. And all of a sudden, you're in 2016. Again, not that 2016, but this 2016. Now imagine jumping in and out of those 2 years at your own convenience. Well, that's not a problem for this Valley Lamborghini collector. I'm on my way to go visit the man himself, Mr. James Kramer. James is an automotive enthusiast like me. I was fortunate enough to set up this interview with Mr. James to talk about his cars. We're going to take a look at his demonic 2016 Lamborghini SV Roadster when he wants to fly around the valley in style. We're also going to take a look at his 1988 5000 QV Lamborghini Countach when he wants to feel like being the Wolf of Wall Street. Come with me and let's enjoy this ride.
Got my first Lamborghini in 2016, which was a 2012 base Aventador, and from there went to SV Coupe, and then from there I just recently went to SV Roadster. I just added the 88 5000 QV Countach in January, and now the goal is to start acquiring cars that appreciate as opposed to depreciate. So other than the Miura, that was the first real V12 Lambo. This is the most recent, and now we just need to fill in a Diablo and a Murcielago to add to the V12 collection. So if you come around and look at this, it's amazing how much bigger the current car is than the old car, both in terms of how wide it is, how long it is. It's even taller than the previous car. If you look at the doors too, you'll notice that the original Countach doors go straight up vertically, which don't make the car any wider, where the Aventador doors stick out probably an additional 18 inches on each side. So the Countach, I have the entire history on the car. I'm the 7th owner, and it's had a unique path all over the United States.
Hey, James.
How are you?
Pretty good, yourself?
Good to see you.
Thank you for having us.
Sure.
How's your day going?
It is going well.
Quite a collection you got there.
Thank you. Thank you. Just the start, though. We need to come.
What's waiting to come?
I need to add another V12, couple V12s. A Diablo and a Murcielago need to be added to that collection. Then we have one of each generation, the last 4.
So I got to ask you this question first.
Sure.
Why Lamborghini?
You know what? That's a great question. You know, I think for most people, that you know, you look at a car, and whether it's the sound, whether it's the looks, you know, a certain car resonates with you. And for me, you know, I don't know. I think the fact that Lamborghini is a little more in your face, a little more aggressive, a little more out there. Whereas, you know, the Ferrari people, I think, like to be a little more understated, like a little bit more tradition. You know, so for me, you know, Lamborghini just really resonated with me. And, you know, all those manufacturers are out there trying to buy our brand loyalty. And I think they've done a good job with me.
That's true. That's awesome. So back in 1988, when the Countach first came out, What was your thoughts on it?
So I grew up in a classic car family and muscle car family. So very blue collar, lower middle class family. And so, I think Countach was something you'd see when you go to back then, you go to a department store and they had these big racks that you would flip through of posters. And it was either, girls in bikinis or supercars or, exotic cars. And, I think I looked at it, but it was so foreign and so out there that, I don't even think that I, lusted after it because it was not even realistic. So for me, it was more, late 60s, 70s muscle cars and, some classic cars.
That makes sense. So would you say you own your favorite vehicle? And if not, what is your favorite car?
Wow, that's a great question. I own probably my favorite vehicle that is within my abilities right now. There's vehicles that are outside of my abilities that I guess would probably be more my favorite. But as time goes on, my hope is to continue to add. But when I started buying cars, it was more about buying what I liked with no regard to future and foresight. Now it's more about, okay, what can I buy that both accomplishes what I enjoy and will appreciate? Because it's too easy to buy cars that are cool that, lose half or a third of their value within a few years.
That makes sense. So how many Lamborghinis have you owned, or how many Lamborghinis have you driven throughout your whole entire life?
I don't think I did a test drive of a Huracan that I didn't own. But other than that, I don't think I've ever owned a car I don't think I've ever driven a Lamborghini that I haven't owned. So 2012 Aventador, 2018 Huracan Performante Spider. Both of those are either sold or in the process of being sold. I had a 16 Aventador SV Coupe, which I just traded in on my current 2016 Aventador SV Roadster. So all of those cars, fun story, is that I never was able to buy one of those driving it ahead of time, just because a lot of dealers don't do that. Nowadays, with the credibility I have, I probably could go ask a dealer to drive it before ahead a time, and they would probably let me just because they know I'm a legitimate buyer.
So you're not a Ferrari fan?
I am in a certain degree. I love the LaFerrari, and I would love to have an F12 TDF, but in general, the 458s, the 488s, the Californias, anything else, the new 812 I don't really like either. So, a LaFerrari and an F12 I do like, but other than that, I'm not a real big fan.
No, I can understand. I'm actually a Lamborghini lover myself. I choose Lamborghini over Ferrari anytime, any day, and I choose Mercedes-Benz over BMW too.
Yeah, me too.
I'm big AMG fan. I own an AMG fan.
AMG motors have torque. BMWs rev high, but they don't sound as good.
Yeah, and just like the design of Mercedes would take over any BMW in my preference. My
first real car in progression to where I am now was I bought a 2009 C63 AMG new. And that just kind of snowballed from there. But yeah, I'm a big fan of AMG engines.
So what do you think of the new up-and-coming Lamborghinis, like the Huracan Evo, the Urus?
I'm not really a fan of the Evo. I think the Evo is just a body-kitted version of the Performante in a way to try to sell more cars. But the Urus, hey, it's cool that Lamborghini makes an SUV, but I wouldn't spend $240,000 on an SUV. I'd, have a Porsche Cayenne that costs $75,000, and I'd rather take that extra $175,000 and buy some sports car. So to me, I don't need a $250,000 daily driver. But as far as the new Lamborghinis, where I thought you were going to go is, the thoughts of the Terzo Millennio, which is going to be their hybrid supercar Aventador replacement. I've seen the concept cars and that I'm super excited about.
So you would be a fan of the Veneno and Elemento.
Yep. Sesto Elemento is probably my favorite Lamborghini. The Veneno is very cool. Not really a big fan of Centenario because I think that's just a body kitted Aventador that they fabricated a low production and to make the price high.
That's true. So if you can daily drive one of your cars every day, what car would you choose?
Of my cars I have now?
Of your cars you have now.
Yeah, the Aventador SV I would. It'd be a little harsh. The Countach is completely impractical. Technically, I still own the Huracan Performante Spider, and it's a little small for me. It's a way better car to daily drive than the Aventador, but it's a little small for me. If it was a Performante Coupe, it's a little bigger inside, doesn't have the bulkhead for the convertible top, and that would be, I mean, Huracan is just basically Audi.
That's
and
true.
you know, super reliable, you know, comfortable when you want it to be, and crazy fast when you want it to be.
So what is it about the SV that made you actually
You
go
just,
for it, go all in?
I think it's the angles, and you look at it, and it's radical, and it's aggressive, and the V12 sound is so much more powerful than the V10. And it, you know, the single clutch transmission doesn't shift as well as the dual clutch Huracan, but it's something about it that just moves you.
So what's your story? What got you into cars? What got you into the automotive, you know, appreciation?
Well, I grew up with my family liking classic and muscle cars, and it wasn't like I really had a lot more ambition than my family. They were very blue collar, and you know, the only thing they aspired to was you know what they could, which is you know a pretty basic muscle car or classic car. But so when my business, you know, which I'd started, you know, 17 years ago now, took off and really started being successful, you know, I started enjoying cars, and then that led to enjoying cars more and enjoying more, and you know, you just keep enjoying things on another higher level, and within the means of being wise with your money.
That's true. So what advice would you give a person starting to be an entrepreneur to establish a lifestyle with luxury cars like yourself?
I get that question probably, I'm not joking, 5 times a week on Instagram, and everybody wants to know what I do, and the underlying question that they're asking, honestly, is what do you do because I want to do it, or what is the easiest way to make a lot of money because I want the easiest way to do it? And that's the wrong question. I like that they ask what I do because I want to give them advice, but it shouldn't be copy me. The advice should be work very, very hard in an industry and learn it more than anyone around you. Save your money, live cheap, don't go into debt, and do that for 10 or 15 years. And nobody wants to hear that. They want immediate gratification, and they want to wear $600 shoes. I didn't own anything really nice until I was about 45. So what you got to do is you got to pick an industry you like. I don't even care what industry it is. Pick an industry you like, work in it for 5, 10, 15 years, and save your money. Then when you know that industry as good or better than anyone else, take all that money you've saved, put it into starting your own business, and because you've now saved your money, you can start that business, and you now know it as well as anyone else, and all you have to do is work 60 to 70% better than the competition. Sadly, in this world, everybody's half-ass, and if you do something better than average looks awesome because so many people are half-ass.
That's true.
So if you do something 60, 70, 80% better than the average, you're going to stand out, and all you get, now that you've started that business, you will start rewarding yourself by how much you made. But I always give people advice: save for your family. If you plan to get married, you're going to have kids, for their college, for your own retirement. I didn't buy this watch or any of my cars until I was married, I had a house, I had kids, they had college saved, and my retirement was set. And everybody else wants, you know, to have the watch and the cars and the shoes and the fashion before all those other things are in place. And that's backwards. So, you know, that's the one thing I would do. And, you know, anybody that wants to ask me questions, I'll give them advice. And I don't know if it's appropriate, but my Instagram's Art Vandalay, just like it sounds. You know what? I want to help people and kids. I didn't have anybody mentoring me, so I'm happy to help them. That's part of what I take time to do each week. But I'll help them as much as they want, as long as they're willing to listen to advice and take good advice. If they're wanting to have, tell me how it is easy, and they're not willing to do the hard work, well, then they can figure it out on their own.
Well, James, I appreciate you having us come out tonight and showing us your amazing collection of cars. And I really, really, really love your collection. Like, I've never seen somebody with such an amazing choice of cars. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in and taking this interview with me.
Yeah, I wish you guys the best.
Thank you.